The life that I have right now looks completely different from where I started. Today, I'm going to be sharing the most impactful things that I did to change my entire life so that you can use them to change yours. Hi, I'm Scarlett Cochran, and this is One Big Happy Life, where we help you find balance, build wealth, and live happy. Everything that you need to create the life that you want. Today, we're going to be talking about how to change your entire life. And I'm really not exaggerating when I say this. The things that you're going to be learning in today's video are the exact same things that I did to go from being a single teen mom, living under the poverty line with just a high school diploma to my name and no financial or parental or community support to speak of, to becoming a Yale Law educated banking and finance attorney, to becoming an entrepreneur and being just a few months away from publishing my very first book with one of the top publishers in the world, Penguin Random House. I mean, suffice it to say, my life looks nothing like what it did 20 years ago when I had my daughter Alexis. And at the time, I couldn't have imagined the life that I have right now. I'm really excited to share these lessons with you because not only have I used them along the way to create the life that I have right now, but I'm still using them as I continue to create the life that I want purposefully going forward. Now, before I get deep into these lessons, I wanted to let you know that we are getting ready to open up the doors to our next level investing program, the Sophisticated Investor. Now, the Sophisticated Investor is an intimate, limited enrollment coaching program where you'll learn how to confidently create and manage an investment portfolio to multiple seven figures and beyond. So if you've been wanting to take your investing strategy beyond just set it and forget it, basic stock market index fund 401k investing, then this is the place that you need to be. We're going to be opening up the doors for limited enrollment, starting with our email list this weekend. So if you're not on our email list, you can go ahead and sign up by heading to onebighappylife.com/blueprint. So you can get your free wealth blueprint, join the email list, and so then you won't miss it when the doors open this weekend. So the first, really, let's call these principles. The first principle that I want to share is that you need to have a vision for your life that's bigger than the life that you have right now and the life that you're currently on track to live. When I became a single teen mom, I was just under 2 years out of high school. So I had a high school diploma. I was an active duty Marine, so I was working full time. I was stationed in Virginia, so far away from my family in New York City. And suddenly I had this baby that I was supporting. And I was so young at that point, I hadn't even really developed a vision of what I wanted for my future. In fact, no one had ever really taught me to imagine for a future, right? Imagine what life would be like when I was older. Sure, I understood the question of, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? And, of course, coming from an immigrant family, it was doctor or lawyer. Those were the only two acceptable careers. But I had never thought to imagine, like really concretely, what a good life looked like for me. I basically just knew, well, this is life and you just kind of do the next thing that you need to do to survive. But becoming a mom changed all of that for me. I went from just thinking about, well, what am I going to do tonight to, oh my gosh, this baby is coming. How am I going to provide for this baby, like in the short term, like when the baby is born? But also, how am I going to provide a good life for this child? And it's because I had Alexis that I really started to ask myself these essential questions that really set me on the path that led me to where I am today. It set me on a path of imagining a future that was bigger than what I was living. Because at the time I was making, less than $20,000 a year. So that's technically living under the poverty line for a family of two. And, our lifestyle it wasn't great. And I wanted more. I wanted more for my daughter. I wanted her to be able to just have wonderful experiences. I wanted to provide her with a good life. And so I just started to imagine, well, what does that good life look like? What are some of the things that I want to be able to provide for her? And I knew that at the very least, I wanted her to have a house with a yard. I wanted to be able to pay for college for her. I wanted to be able to maybe buy her a car, go to Disney, all of the things that I myself enjoyed and wanted as a child. I wanted her to have all of that and more. And the big lesson there is that you don't have to have that big, bold future really well defined in order for this principle to work. All that I needed was just that initial vision that life could be different, that I wanted something different, and that commitment to just imagining what was possible for me. So not shutting down what I felt I was capable of or where I felt my life could go based on my limited experiences in the world. I just stayed open to the possibility that this amazing life that I was craving was out there somewhere, and I just needed to figure out how to get it. And I'll tell you, it wasn't easy to hold that belief and that vision because everyone around me doubted my vision. Everyone around me saw where I came from, saw the fact that, well, now I'm a single teen mom with no college degree, and everyone had assumptions about what would be possible for my life because of their biases and limitations and honestly, lack of vision. And one of the best things, and don't ask me where I found it, but look, I'm giving it to you here as a gift. One of the best things that I did was seriously just question everything that people told me, especially when those things were really trying to limit what I was trying to do, really trying to keep my dreams small, keep my goals small. Because at the end of the day, the thing that I realized is, well, those people have their thoughts, but I know that I have this desire for a different life. And why not me? Why can't I have that? They just don't know how to do it, but that doesn't mean that I can't figure out a way to do it and a way to do it that works for me. So the next really important principle that I had to take to heart and had to really master in order to change everything about my life was to understand money. That is a non-negotiable, because here's the thing. Life costs money. The transitions that you have to make between what you were doing before and what you want to do in the future, money is going to be a top consideration when you're thinking about, okay, how do I actually practically make this happen? How do I change careers? How do I move states and cities? How do I have more children? How do I get divorced and leave a relationship that isn't working for me anymore? Those are all financial decisions. How do I go back to school? How do I take a course or a training to teach me a new skill that will help me move into the career that I want? All money questions. And so being a single teen mom, making, less, like in 20-something $1,000s a year, paying for childcare, working full time, and trying to figure out how I could make more money, I also had to figure out, how do I manage the money that I have really well? How do I use every single financial resource available to me and really make it stretch as far as I can so that I'm not just surviving, but I'm making progress towards really important financial goals and life goals. So for me, some of those life goals were, one, buying a house. Like I said, had a baby, didn't want to live in an apartment. I wanted to buy a house. And everyone told me, well, you're a 19-year-old single mom. You can't buy a house. You just can't do that. And luckily, I didn't believe them. And I just started looking into it. Well, how do you buy a house? And lo and behold, thank you, Google, there were lots of articles out there that helped me get a baseline understanding of how those types of financial transactions worked so that I could really start crunching the numbers to see, if I wanted to make this happen, what would I need to do? And so I was able to buy my first house by the time I was 20 years old, despite the fact that I was making less than $30,000 a year and was a single mom with no college degree. Just mind-blowing. It sounds mind-blowing, but it's actually truly just a numbers thing. So committing to learn about money, understand money, and take control of my finances made all the difference. in what I was able to do, that I was able to work full time and pay for my college classes so I could take classes in the evenings. And then later on, I was able to figure out how to financially leave the Marine Corps, and so that I could start going to college full time so that I could get to my ultimate career and make more money in the long run. Knowing how to use your money to support yourself now, but also position yourself so that you can move towards your vision of your best life, that's essential. And I have a great free resource that's a next step for you for this, which is my class, How to Afford Anything You Want. I'll drop the link down in the description box, but you can also head over to onebighappylife.com/afford anything to take the free class. The next principle that I want to share with you is that it's important to invest in yourself. Invest in your own personal growth, in your skills, because you are your best asset. You are your best investment because you have control over how you make money, how much money you make, how skilled you are, how you're able to handle whatever life throws at you. And so one of the best things that I've ever done is to invest in my own education. So started going to college, put myself through undergrad, ended up going to law school. And even though I'm not a practicing attorney anymore, despite the fact that, yes, I spent almost $200,000 becoming a lawyer, the lessons that I learned, the education that I received, the skills that I learned just going through that education, and also as a practicing attorney, developing my skills there, they continue to pay off in my daily life. So none of it is wasted. So not only am I constantly investing in courses and programs and seminars and coaching to become a better entrepreneur, a better writer, a better speaker, a better mom, a better partner, a better person, but I'm also just constantly learning. I try to learn something new every day. I try to read something new every day, and I try to be widely read so that I'm a well-rounded person in as many areas of my life as possible. And because that's a personal value, I always find the time to learn a little something every single day. So ask yourself, what are you learning today? How are you learning? And here's the thing, you're here right now, so you are a person already, I know, that's committed to self-growth and continual education and honing your skills, because that's why you're watching this video. So kudos to you on that, and don't ever stop, because building your skills and knowledge over time is one of the ways that you make sure that you are able to continue to rise to the occasion and create the next version of your life, versus staying in complacency and being stagnant and being comfortable. You're fully committed to growth. And that's going to help you transform your life over time. The next principle that I want to share is a little counterintuitive, but it is also essential to internalize, which is embracing risk and the potential for loss. Whenever you try something new, whenever you are working to grow, that means that you're doing something different than what you've been doing before. And with change, there is always some amount of risk or loss because you're not doing the same things that you've been doing. But the thing is, the upside potential is so high that it's worth it. But oftentimes people will want the upside, right? The positives, they want the transformation, they want the extraordinary life, but they're so risk averse that they won't step off the ledge. And that is what is required to really change your life. When I think about the shifts that I had to make that felt really scary, and they don't stop feeling scary, just so you know, deciding to have a child at 19 years old. I was 18 when I decided that, well, yes, I'm going to have a baby. That's a big deal. That's a big shift. Also, leaving the Marine Corps, the only solid job I had ever known, to just decide like, hey, somehow I'm going to figure out this college thing, even though no one in my family had gone to college. I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. Somehow I'm going to get another job, and I'm going to do it without family support, because my family lived in a completely different state and we're from a different country. So there weren't many of us in the US anyway. That was a huge step. I had to do so much financial planning with my 1-year spending plan and thinking through all of the potential pitfalls because, hey, I had a child to support. But that was the only way for me to make the kind of moves that I wanted to make. I didn't want to take classes part-time. I wanted to go full-time so that I could move on to my new career faster. So I had to let go of the safety net of the paycheck and the security of being an active duty Marine and jump into civilian life, adult life, with a child in tow, without a career, and just trust the plans that I had laid in place to work out. And I've had to do that over and over. I did it 3 years ago when I decided to leave legal practice behind to become an entrepreneur. And I'm doing it again now as I'm preparing to launch this book out into the world and being faced with doing things that I never imagined that I would ever actually be doing and that I've never done before. Things like maybe being on live television. That was one of the questions that came up when I was on the call with the publisher just yesterday as we were talking about the publish date for the book coming up. It's like, have you done live TV? I have not, but guess what? I'm going to learn how to do it and I'm going to figure it out and it's going to be great. And my palms are sweating and it feels really scary and really big, but I can do scary things. And maybe I'm going to do some interviews and maybe they're going to be kind of bad, but guess what? They will be learning experiences that I can grow from. So that's how you have to think about failure and loss. There's no such thing as permanent failure. There's no such thing when we're talking about our life aspirations as permanent loss unless you give up and stop. So if you're just committed to figuring this out and making the extraordinary life that you desire happen no matter what, there's no such thing as failure. There's only lessons. And the last principle that I want to share with you today is one that I think is really uncommon when we're talking about success and creating the life that you want, which is to enjoy the journey. Yes, my life looks completely different than it was 20 years ago, but I look back on that time, that sweet, quiet time when it was just me and Alexis in this tiny apartment above a bar. And those moments are still so precious to me because yes, you're striving for a life that's even better, but in the meantime, your life is happening. Your life is still right now. And so I don't believe in sacrificing and being unhappy in order to reach a goal. I believe that you can create an extraordinary life while living an extraordinary life along the way. And that commitment to enjoying your life along the way will make sure that you have memories, wonderful memories to look back on when you reach your inevitable destination. Because I believe that that life that you crave is inevitable. I believed always, even without any evidence, that this life that I have right now was inevitable. It was going to happen. It's just a matter of when and a matter of how do I make it happen in a way that feels really good to me. And that commitment has helped me make decisions along the way that allowed me to not just look at everything I was doing as a means to an end, but really challenging the world. Like, hey, I don't just want this, but I want to make sure that I get it on my terms. So I'm going to give you an example of what I mean by that. So when I went to law school, I had it in my mind that I wanted to work at a top law firm. At the time, top law firms were making, the big law firms were paying something like $160,000 a year starting salary. It's much higher now. But for me, that's like, wow, if I get that, I will have made it. Well, I went and I worked at the firms. I worked at several firms. I tried New York because you work at firms in your summers between law school. So I tried New York City first. I was working all the time. I never saw my then husband or Alexis, like rarely. And so then I tried a Dallas firm or 2 Dallas firms because I split my summer. And it was better, but I was still working so much and just really didn't have control of my schedule. And I said, you know what? I don't want the $160,000 that way. I was looking at the firm and I'm like, well, the carrot that was dangling for me is, yes, that money and the ability to pay off my student loans faster. But really, I was like, well, I don't want to be partner because the partners are not working any less, but maybe I can be of counsel or go part-time once I've worked at the firm for 6 or 7 years. And I really stopped and said, is it worth it? Giving up the next 6 or 7 years working like crazy just so that I could get part-time and make $160K working 40 hours a week. Like, could I figure out another way to get to that salary while also being able to spend time with my family and have time for other outside interests? And so ultimately, I decided to go into public interest. And my first job out of law school, I was making $60,000 a year, but I had so much schedule flexibility. Right? I had time freedom. I had the flexibility that I wanted to have, that I actually needed to have because I ended up getting divorced. And ultimately, that decision put me on the path that I'm on right now, that led me here to this moment. And so I strongly believe that a commitment to reaching the goal on your terms in a way that allows you to enjoy the journey will ultimately lead to you feeling more fulfilled and happier as you reach each milestone. I know that has been my experience. And so I just wanted to share that principle with you and all of these principles with you so that you can take them and use them to start creating the life that you want starting today. And like I said, these are the same principles that I continue to use in my life right now, that continue to drive me as I continue to move forward towards the new goals that I set for myself and my life. So I'd love to hear in the comments, which one of these was your favorite? Which one of these surprised you the most? And I will see you next time.